So something that we alluded to earlier in the episode, which isn't 100% true, if we're being honest, is that you have no marketing budget. You actually do. You just choose to pay your members as affiliates versus Facebook, Google. So talk about the impact that has had, not just the affiliates, but also the feature you rolled out where you're paying members that are using PodMatch to source guests and to track the progress through PodMatch. What impact has that had on marketing PodMatch and growing the user base? Member base.
Yes.
I keep talking about
member
users.
base.
Users, clients.
Yeah.
You got to train me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So our members, what we decided to do is it's called our Pod Value Initiative that you're describing here. And basically this came through the form of those one-on-one conversations, because early on when I launched PodMatch, Travis, I realized I was like, we have a serious issue. I told Jesse, which is my co-founder, I'm like, we have podcasters leaving left and right. Like they are just disappearing so fast. And I was like, there's something wrong with our service. There has to be. I'm like, I'm not getting that feedback when I talk to people. Maybe I'm asking the wrong questions. So I started actually finding the people that were leaving and asking them. And there was, of course, I'll just call it the 1% that was like, yeah, your product sucks, right? Like, of course, there were those people. But the 99% were people that were saying, oh, I didn't leave your service. I stopped my podcast altogether. Like, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And I continuously like dug into why. And there was a few main reasons, but the biggest one being was just that it's a cost that me and my family can't take right now. And even though it's just sometimes $30, $40 a month, people were just like, I just can't do that. I can't justify that right now. And so our Pod Value Initiative, the idea behind it was, can we put enough in creators' pockets that can offset their full production cost? So no one's getting rich using PodMatch, but the idea was, can we share enough of our profit, which is exactly what we do, to podcast hosts that are actually using PodMatch? And the way it works, I'll simply just kind of lay it out, is somebody is actually going through the whole process on PodMatch. So it's not like you're finding a guest, then messaging them on social media. Like, we have to actually track that you've used it for the whole thing. And then we're not paying you for that specific guest. We're just paying you because you're actually following the process. And again, we're just giving a percentage of our actual revenue away. And at first, people like me and my co-founder are like, are we okay to just give money away? And I was like, man, I think it's in our best interest because it keeps people podcasting and it keeps them adding value to the people that are listening. So in my mind, it was like a no-brainer. And to this day, it remains one of my favorite features we do. Like last month was our first, it's a newer initiative. It was our first time sending out 5 figures worth of revenue share with our podcast host, which I was like thrilled to be able to do that. Like, that's a really cool thing for me. So yeah, it was through feedback and just realizing that the industry had a need, and this was how we'd be able to fill it. But you're absolutely right. I have a little bit of a marketing budget, and I don't let off on that too much. So good call there, Travis.
Well, and what's really smart about that, beyond just serving your members and continuing to make the product more valuable to them, because then when they're trying to decide what are the things I'm going to cut, the more valuable you can make your product or service, the less likely they are to leave, which helps retention, helps you, right? But also tapping into the network effect of the more people actually use it, if you have a good product, then the more likely they are to talk about it. And then if you can incentivize them and kind of like match your priorities and the things that matter to you with the things that matter to your members, or in many cases, users, clients,
correct,
customers.
Yeah,
right?
I'll let it slide, Travis.
Yeah.
That's good.
then you can actually accelerate word of mouth, which is ultimately the biggest driver of business growth, even now, even with all the different things that you can do. And so being able to not just create an experience that's more valuable for your members, but now, because they're incentivized to use every piece of PodMatch in order to get that revenue share, now the guest is on the receiving end of that. And when they are talking to another podcast host, because that's one thing that podcasters are great at, is interviewing other podcasts to talk about podcasting, they're like, what is the service you're using? They're like, oh, it's PodMatch. And actually, I'm getting paid X amount for using it to have this interview right here. And so like you create that network effect much in the same way that Dropbox did, where if you invited a friend, you got extra cloud storage. You're creating this positive feedback loop just by making the product better for the people using it and responding to a need they have, and then accelerating that word of mouth to just bring more people in, which just keeps it going. Well, hey there. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Honest Marketing Podcast. If you want to watch the entire episode, you can click right here and watch it right now. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get new videos every single week.